This is a CBS 4 News special report.
The city of Miami Beach and the city of Fort Lauderdale are holding a joint news conference right now. Let's listen in.
To update everyone on additional steps the city of Fort Lauderdale is taking. Last night, Governor DeSantis and state health officials announced that positive cases of COVID-19 continue to rise. The state of Florida now has over 100 cases, a third of which are in Broward County. We're now also seeing positive cases in all age groups, including younger people and individuals with no travel history, which health officials have indicated as signals that our community is now experiencing social spread of the virus. If we are to continue to take this matter seriously and to try to flatten the curve of the spread of the coronavirus, we have to take bold yet responsible measures to limit large gatherings. As I said on Friday, this is not a time to panic, nor is it a time to sit idly by. This is a time for clear and decisive action. That includes working together as a community to change our behaviors and taking additional measures to combat the virus. And I'm pleased to be able to work today with Mayor Gelber as we try to achieve those measures. So beginning today and continuing through April 12th, the city of Fort Lauderdale will be closing the dry sand portion of our public beach from Harbor Drive to north of Oakland Park Boulevard. Closing our beaches decreases the amount of public safety resources needed to interact with the high-density spring break population, which reduces exposure for our police and first responders so they can continue to carry out their important life-saving duties should the situation become more widespread. It also increases social distancing, a key deterrent to the spread of the virus. We're now also requiring all bars and restaurants to close by 10 p.m. In addition, all public gatherings of any type of more than 250 will be prohibited, with the exception of retail establishments, grocery stores, Broward County government, the Broward County School District, the North Broward Hospital District, and agencies of the state and federal government. This will be strictly enforced. Bars and restaurants also must operate at no more than 50% of their allowed capacity, again, at no more than 250 people. These measures are being put in place for the protection of our community, for our residents, our visitors, and employees in a continued effort to stay ahead of this pandemic and to help stem the tide of the spread. Let me say that these decisions are being made in close consultation with our surrounding communities, in particular with Miami Beach. Both of our cities face similar challenges given the tremendous amount of national and international visitors we host during this time of year. I also just spoke with Governor DeSantis, who is supportive of the measures we are taking, and I appreciate his support on our behalf. Again, let me emphasize that we are all working together on this. The key to fighting coronavirus lies with everyone doing their part, to be responsible, to be supportive of your neighbors, and by following the strategies to restrict the spread of the virus, limiting public gatherings, and practice social distancing. We have to do everything possible to minimize crowds, and unfortunately our beaches must be part of our plan. I want to be clear that this is not an overreaction, but a way for us to help stop further cases of COVID-19 in our community. We must all do our part to save lives, and this includes protecting our residents, visitors, as well as our first responders. We remind everyone that if you are concerned that you have been exposed to coronavirus, please call the Florida Department of Health in Broward County at 954-412-7300. That's 954-412-7300, and your health care provider before going to any health care facility. If you have any questions related to coronavirus, please call the Florida Department of Health's Coronavirus Call Center at 1-866-779-6121. Again, that's 866-779-6121, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or email COVID-19, that's COVID-19 at flhealth.gov. Additional information is also available at www.coronavirus.gov or www.floridahealth.gov. I thank you for being here today, and I now turn the floor over to Mayor Gelber.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Mayor. And I also have been in contact with Mayor Jimenez, Mayor Suarez, and Governor DeSantis called to go over these measures. And frankly, I think we had pretty much the same conversation with the governor, which was very supportive. Obviously, he's concerned, but I think we all recognize something, which is although we're facing the very same challenge, that challenge presents itself differently in different places. Our cities, because they typically receive crowds, they embrace gatherings, they have wonderful hospitality industries, we typically want everybody to come here and not practice social distancing. But that would be business as usual, and clearly if there's one thing that's happening right now, it can't be business as usual anymore. The fact that there are millions of young people on apparently a permanent spring break, even high school kids in Dade County on an extended spring break, same thing in Fort Lauderdale, means that our presence as a hospitality destination just doesn't work when you're trying to practice social distancing. It just doesn't work. College kids, people looking for that kind of experience, this is a very, very dangerous confluence, which we simply can't be the place for people to go to. We can't have the kinds of crowds we've had, the kinds of gatherings. We can't have a spring break the way it has happened. We cannot become a petri dish for a very dangerous virus. And I walked down Ocean Drive yesterday, and what I saw was incredibly disturbing. It wasn't just the typical large gatherings of people, but it was people, young people, who believe they're invincible and probably don't really think about this in any way as a health crisis. But let me tell you something, especially the young people out there. You have a mother, you have a grandmother, maybe you have a great-grandmother. That virus could be extremely deadly to them. And the whole concept of a pandemic is to work as a community. So what we're doing, and I'm very grateful, Mayor, because frankly, as we talked about this over the last few days, it's been very reaffirming that our experiences are shared. Our concerns are shared. So the reason we did this was to send a message out. Spring break is over, but more importantly, you've got to start treating this virus as something where you got to listen to what people are telling you to do. You can't just act like it doesn't exist. You can't be uncaring about who else might catch it. You got to realize that we're all in this together, and we've got to act that way. Now, I see representatives of the hospitality industry, and I want to say to them, we are really concerned for our businesses and our workers. Please, these are people that have invested in our city. They have made our city part of who they are. But at the end of the day, we can't simply elevate those concerns over the public health concerns. So here are the measures we are imposing today in our city so you get a sense of what they're going to be. First of all, we are closing the beach from 5th to 15th Street, and we are closing Loomis Park. It will be closed tomorrow. We are shutting down parking garages and surface lots, except for those with residents and access card holders. All non-essential retail in our city will be closed at 10 p.m. All non-essential retail in our city will be required to close by 10 p.m. And curfew will be at 11 p.m. in the entertainment district. We will enforce a curfew in the entertainment district at 11. We don't want our streets to become a place to party, a place to gather, a place to create a venue organically. We've got to end that. We are going to reduce all of our occupancy in restaurants, which we've done, to 249, and we're going to urge them all to follow the 50% occupancy suggestion that you just heard from my colleague. And it will be a criminal offense, by the way, to disobey this. Look, nobody likes doing this because we, frankly, are overjoyed with the profile of our city. We think this is a great place. We want people to come here. We encourage people to come here. But this is not business as usual. This is not every day. This is an emergency situation. It's a pandemic, and we've got to act that way. And the reason I called Mayor Suarez, and the reason I've talked to Mayor Jimenez, and the reason why it was so important to talk to Governor DeSantis is that our actions could have impacts elsewhere. I don't want to simply send people over to Miami where they're going to be having the same issues we've been confronting this week and earlier. So my hope is that other cities and other places will follow this course, because the message has to be clear to people who are coming anywhere, but namely to our cities right now. You can't do that anymore. the party is over. So with that, we'll take your questions, and then we'll also have our manager. So I want to thank my colleagues who are here.
Right, our colleagues from our city commissioners.
Let me introduce Mark Samulin. Commissioner Minor is here. I know Commissioner Gangora is here. Commissioner Steinberg and Commissioner Ariola and Commissioner Richardson could not be here. But I do want to just mention our...
And in Fort Lauderdale, we have Commissioner Steve Glassman. We have Commissioner Steve Glassman, as well as Commissioner Heather Moritas. Our other two commissioners could not attend as well. I guess the drive to Miami Beach was a little much.
Well, we appreciate you coming. But I will say that I know you feel the same way. Our commissioners have been extraordinarily diligent in how we're addressing this. We're treating it like a hurricane. We have early morning meetings. We are on a hurricane footing. We literally implemented our EOC. So the manager who really runs our city every morning goes down the line to see. But it has become very obvious to us that these measures are important and critical to deploy. And it was reaffirming when I spoke to this mayor who said the same thing, and he, as a good 45 minutes away, but had exactly the same experience we're having. We came to these judgments almost
I think what the message we're trying to put out there is that we're hoping that the rest of the coastal cities throughout the state are in a position to participate with us, collaborate with us, and we're not just trying to push the problem onto their cities, but in fact we're trying to collaboratively combat this disease. And I think once we send this message out this afternoon, hopefully we'll be able to get a response that we can all work together and try to defeat this.
In a moment, our manager, our wonderful manager, Jimmy Morales, is going to do this in Spanish for you, but we'll take questions now.
Tortuga will be postponed. Date uncertain. So will Pride of the Americas is being postponed, and all significant outdoor events are being postponed that were going to take place within this time frame. So another thing I think needs to be emphasized, this is not forever. We're going to defeat this disease, and so there is light at the end of the tunnel. So right now we're taking this initiative. It will be for the next 30 days till almost 30 days till April 12th to see how much progress we can make in defeating this disease, and we'll reevaluate the situation at that time.
Well, I think, Jimmy, these are your emergency measures. Are we 30 days, or are you going to wait till Wednesday and then decide how long we go? Come on. Tomorrow, 12:01, but the actual closures would then happen that day, tomorrow.
Under our code and state law, I can implement these for 7 days. So these will be in place till March 19th. We will revisit with the commission this Wednesday. I'll be seeking extensions of that. And the idea really here, obviously, is that this should continue so long as we're under this threat of the coronavirus. At such time as, I think in both cities, I'm sure folks feel that that threat is gone, we're flattening that curve, we're getting past it. I'm sure both cities will revisit and try to reopen as soon as possible. That's the goal. But the goal is to try to make it that we're only closing for a few weeks, not several months if we get out of control.
Yeah, and I want to just add, one of the issues for us also, and I'm sure it's for you as well, is when I was walking down Ocean Drive, it's become pretty obvious that our police and fire are in these crowds as well, because they have to be, and we cannot afford to lose our public safety first responders to the coronavirus. First of all, it's obviously dangerous to them, but just imagine the cascading impact when a couple firehouses are offline, or whole squads are offline, like what happened in Miami when entire 21 motorcycle cops are no longer in duty. So we have to be very aware of that public safety threat, even though it may not be a peril that's right now. If we don't have sufficient people to respond to normal public safety issues, it's a danger to the community.
On Monday, you had a meeting. On Monday, the CDC said start social distancing, particularly because of the elderly population. You had a meeting with the hospitality people, and what emerged from that meeting was Miami Beach is open for business, which went out throughout the world. Was that a mistake? Number one, was it irresponsible?
First of all, we pretty quickly after that, I think the whole country and the whole county was saying we're open for business. Pretty soon after that, I think we said we were closed for business, or at least closed for that kind of business. Yeah.
And I think you have to understand that we are reacting to information as we get it every day, and the information changes every day. And one of the reasons why we in Fort Lauderdale and in Broward County are reacting the way we are is because of new information that we receive. Now that we're finding out that new cases are being found in young people, obviously we have to move forward and try to anticipate that hazard. So I think that Mayor Gelber, myself, and all the mayors that work in and around South Florida and throughout the state are doing our best to try to respond responsibly as well as aggressively in order to try to combat this disease.
With all due respect, the CDC, before everything on Monday, said this social distancing, particularly for the elderly. And after that, the CDC, anybody can look it up online throughout the world, we were open for business. That's my question. Not that there was new information. That was the information before that. That was the information over the weekend. Before that.
This weekend?
All non-essential businesses are closed at 10 p.m. Here's the exclusion list that we have. Pharmacies, grocery stores, convenience stores, private offices, banks, hotels, hospitals, medical service providers, medical supply stores, hardware stores, gasoline service stations, automobile supply and repair centers. Obviously, the manager will look to see if that list needs to be expanded, but that's the intention. Jimmy, you want to answer the incarnation of that question, the iteration? You might stay up here.
Well, the intention is that any clubs and restaurants in those hotels, in any hotel, would abide by this. So that is the intention. Well, David, obviously we're just rolling this out. We will deal with case-by-case situations as we see them, but that is the intention. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, certainly.
Yeah, by the way, it is a complex problem. Any other questions? We're going to go to Spanish now. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, we obviously have a separate public safety issue during spring break that we have grappled with for years. We've had a good number of injured officers over the last few weeks, but the concern we're raising as it relates to the coronavirus is that because of the nature of the police and fire department, if people start to get it who literally are firemen or policemen, that might take out whole swaths of officers and firemen who would otherwise be providing public safety services. So we couldn't, we have a certain level of law enforcement and fire because that's what we need. And the notion that we would lose that many at a given time is disturbing because forgetting about spring break, they have things to do all the time. I remember when my mother was alive and she was ill and she fell out of bed, they would come and help her get back into her bed. So these are the kinds of things that they have to do, and that's our biggest concern. Our hope is that this will obviously significantly curtail the activity in the entertainment district. If it's over at 10 p.m. there and there's a curfew there at 11, then we should not have crowds of people walking around Ocean Drive or Washington Avenue or Collins Avenue. In fact, they probably will be gone much earlier because they know they have to leave at 10. They could be arrested. So, Chief?
Good afternoon. Rick Clements, Chief of Police. Yes, we are going to keep our current staffing levels in place. We are not necessarily in an Alpha Bravo configuration. We're in a modified or a hybrid staffing model, which extends their hours of work to 13 hours a day. And we're really, for the most part, we're spread out through all three shifts to make sure that we have ample number of people on the street right now to be able to deal with the crowds that we are seeing.
Dean,
Just one last thing. Thank you all for being here today. You're standing a little too close to each other. I just want to point that out. I also want to thank my city manager, Chris Lagerblum, who is also participating today and has been working tirelessly to assemble the information and get this out to the public. Thank you, Mayor Gelber. This has been an important moment for our communities to get to work together. And now hear it in Spanish. Thank you.
Before I transition to Spanish, let me just say...
All right, if you're just tuning in, the city of Fort Lauderdale Mayor Dean Trantalis says starting today to April 12th, beaches from Harbor Drive to Oakland Park Boulevard will be closed. Restaurants will be closed by 10 p.m. and social gatherings limited to under 250 people. Over on Miami Beach, beaches will also be closed from 5th to 15th. Loomis Park closed, parking garage and lots closed. Non-essential retail also closed, and a strict curfew in the entertainment district at 11 p.m. We will have more, of course, on CBSMiami.com. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.